If you haven't heard about polyvagal theory, I think it's really worth your time. I've been doing a deep dive for the last couple months into polyvagal theory, and I am finding it extremely helpful for self work, for healing self, for healing others, for helping others deal with trauma, for helping others just live life. So let's get into what it means. This is polyvagal theory, and it's all about the vagus nerve. So polyvagal just means many vagus nerve pathways. And so that's all it's talking about. Poly means many, vagal is regarding the vagus nerve, but the vagus nerve has different pathways that it develops. Let me explain what that means. So your vagus nerve is right at the base of your brain, and it's one of the largest nerves in your body, and it connects your entire body system. And it's your brain, it's your body's unconscious self-defense system. So it tells your heart how fast to beat. It tells your lungs how fast to breathe. It tells your intestines how to digest. It tells your liver what to do. It tells your adrenal glands what to do. It tells your whole body. It communicates to your whole body how to react to your environment at any given time. So you can see, and you don't have control over it. It just decides what to do based on its own interpretation of what you're seeing and hearing and thinking and all of that. So you can see how it's really important, because a lot of us, when we're not in control of ourselves, when we don't have self-control, it's often that our vagus nerve has taken over control of our system. And so it decides the state that we're in, whether we decide that we're under threat or we're at peace. We can rest and be at peace, or we are completely shut down. So your vagus nerve determines what state to put all of your organs in and your entire system in at any given moment as an interpretation of your environment. So this is really, really important. And there in 1994, I believe it was, there's a man named Stephen Borges who, people were starting to understand the vagus nerve a lot more. And he made kind of a discovery that there was 3 pathways of the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve can put your body into 3 different states. And this is what's really, really helpful. And this is part of your nervous system, this vagus nerve being one of your nerves. And it's one of the primary nerves. And so your nervous system really tells you how to operate. This is part of it. So the 3 states are called ventral, sympathetic, and dorsal. And so your ventral is your peaceful state. It's the best state, in my opinion. They're all fine, but not really. Your ventral state, ventral just means front or top, and it's the state of being where you're at peace, you're very receptive, you tend to be cooperative, you're looking to love, you're looking to give, you're not under threat, you are just open and accepting and welcoming of others, and you are not in a stress situation at all. So you can rest, you can be at peace. So that's a great state. That's the state we want to stay in all the time. But the problem is life happens and stress happens. And as soon as your vagus nerve starts sensing a threat, as soon as it could be someone says something that you don't like. It could be someone looks like someone that hurt you in the past. It could be that a place makes you feel uncomfortable. All of those things put your vagus nerve, tells your body, heart beat faster, lungs breathe faster, digestion put on hold, all these different things. It's telling your system to get ready, because you could go to war right now. You could be facing life and death situation. And it's not always the best judge. Sometimes you're like, what's wrong with me? Why did I get so stressed? Why do I have all this anxiety all of a sudden? And you can trace it back. Sometimes you can't trace it back because your vagus nerve just decided that something was a threat. Sometimes you can, and you can trace it back and you say, oh, It was because that person at the grocery store said this thing that triggered something that was a wound inside of me that makes me feel insecure. Whatever it is, I don't know. But that's what sends you into the sympathetic. And by the way, sympathetic doesn't mean sympathy for others. It means same pathway. That means all of your system, all of your organs are being told the same thing to do by the vagus nerve. So it's like the same path is being told to everything. That's what sympathetic means. And in this case, sympathetic, when you're in the sympathetic state, that means you're on high alert. And that means you're either going to go into fight, like let's argue. And this could be as simple as like just being argumentative, just being abrasive, just being like, I'm going to just disagree. I'm going to be disagreeable. I'm going to just fight for the sake of fighting. And you might notice this in your kids. Your kids, for no reason at all, they just are going to fight you. They're just going to resist anything you say. I've noticed that sometimes in my kids. We've come, because we have this language now, we get to the bottom of things pretty quickly, or at least we try to. I'm trying to make sure my family gets to the bottom of these things so we don't have to fight for no reason. It's so ridiculous. Or they flight and they go lock themselves in their room and they don't want to be a part of anything. Or it could be your spouse, or it could be your coworkers, or it could be family members or friends. You can start seeing the pathways, the pathology of different people depending on what's going on. So there's your sympathetic system, which is you detect a threat. So immediately your vagus nerve tells your system to prepare for a threat. And therefore, anything that comes, you respond to really quickly. You're like, okay, I better treat this as a threat. So in a marriage, this happens all the time, but it's like, if you're in the sympathetic state and you come home from being somewhere else and you've been triggered and you come home and your spouse says something to you that's innocent, you might easily interpret it as a threat. Or you can do something what we call co-regulation, which is you can regulate your system, which means you are conscious of this. You're conscious of your vagus nerve. You're conscious of whether you're in ventral, sympathetic, or dorsal. And dorsal, by the way, is when your vagus nerve thinks, okay, I can't find a strategy to run away, and I can't find a strategy to fight this. I can't win this battle, and I can't escape this battle. So I'm going to shut down my ability to feel it. I'm going to go numb. And that's another survival system. And so that's where depression is. That's like the state of depression. It's like, I can't win. I'm going to just lay down and not feel anything, because maybe it'll all pass. And so your vagus nerve says, that's the best strategy in this case. When I can't win, I can't survive, I'm going to just try and not feel any of it so I can maybe outlast it. And so that's another automatic response that you're not conscious of. You can go into this and you're like, why am I can't do anything? And it's because your vagus nerve has told you there's no escape. So if you have this in your family, or if you have this with your spouse, or if you have this with your kids, or maybe you've been traumatized. Like for me, I was betrayed pretty terribly by people that I really trusted, many, many years ago. And it took many years. I still sometimes process it. In the middle of the night, I'll wake up and I'll start thinking about it, and I can't go back to sleep because my mind, my vagus nerve is telling me, fight it still. Like you're still in this war against these people that betrayed you. And I'm not. I haven't been in their lives for over a decade. But my vagus nerve is telling me to fight them. Why? Like, what? I'm still like, and then if I go somewhere that reminds me of them, I'm like, get out of here. These people are just so unhealthy. They're going to hurt you. They're not to be trusted. They're going to stab you in the back. So that's where we can get stuck. And that's why this is so helpful. This is why I found this so helpful with helping others, and with helping myself, with helping my kids, with helping my wife, with helping my friends, is understanding that this is our system, and we can start recognizing what system we're in. And like, if you can't sleep at night, a lot of times it's your vagus nerve getting you ready to, it's like you're processing, how do I get out of this situation? Do I fight it? Do I run away? How do I escape? If you're depressed, or your kids are fighting depression, it's probably because they're sympathetic fight or flight. They can't find a strategy on how to survive. And the world today is insane. The world, like anytime you turn on any social media or any news, legacy media or anything, it is just telling you the absolute worst things you could ever imagine that our leaders are doing. The threats of war are constant 24/7. People are awful. Divide, divide, divide. Whatever side you're on is like the other side is the worst. And you're not in power. They're going to take over and you're going to be at their mercy, and it's going to be the absolute, like all of this stuff. And then we have these like little phones that are radiating us all the time, and we have all this stuff saying all of our food is unhealthy. Like there's nothing but stress on all sides of us. And so there's been a skyrocketing of the sympathetic. Like it's so hard to get into the ventral now. You have to work at getting into ventral. Like literally today, if you either need to get rid of your screens or you really need to have a system of getting back into ventral, because the screens are just 24/7 stress and radiation to our systems. And that's causing our vagus nerve to be like, hey, you're at war right now and you can't sleep. You need to be on high alert. Any sound that comes is a threat. Anyone that says anything that's a different opinion, that's a threat. You need to treat it like life and death, like you're at war. And so we cannot rest in this system if we believe it all, if we consume it all, unless we figure out our ventral, a pathway back to our ventral system and to just be able to be at peace. So for me, that's spending time in nature, spending time contemplating and writing and talking to God. And it's also time with my family, time with my wife. But that is, to me, that's hard. That in the past, I've been under my sympathetic. Oh, and here's another thing. When you're in sympathetic, you're not present. Like, has time vanished? Has like the last 5 years just seemed like it's just vanished? It's probably because you're in sympathetic mode. Because when you're in sympathetic mode, you're only obsessed with survival, and time vanishes. You can't be present. It's only when you're in ventral that you can actually be present and like absorb what's going on around you. And like time slows down and you can like actually appreciate it and breathe and live and love and laugh and all those things. So I hope this helps you, and yeah, bless you. Bye-bye.